So I'd like to welcome an amazing guest that we have here today with us, ready to share some nuggets on his own journey. Tom is leading in video advertising. He's an expert. He's a speaker, he's an author, and he's a founder of the video advertising agency Viewability. He's created over 1,700 videos for advertising campaigns for his clients that with lead generation, customer acquisition, brand awareness, and e-commerce campaigns as well. And now he teaches business owners and entrepreneurs the strategies that he's tested and used over many, many years of what they're able to actually do to advertise on Facebook. So I'd like to welcome today Tom Bree. So thank you so much, Tom, for being with us.
Of course, it's great to be here. And yeah, looking forward to sharing what I can to make sure that everyone learns how to use YouTube in the right way and yeah, basically get the best they can out of the platform.
No, thank you. Great. So what I'd like to start with, Tom, really is just who is Tom? You know, so we can all get a real deep understanding of who you are and what exactly you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm starting to find a new version of myself ever since coronavirus has kind of kicked in. So there's previous Tom, and there's like the new Tom having to be at home with 3 kids and manage a business at the same time. So in regards to kind of like myself and who I am, so I think like apart from the fact that my dad and husband and all that sort of stuff on the private side, the public facing side, so to speak, I'm a YouTube advertiser, and I have an agency. We're about 11 people in the company, but we work with loads of different companies all over the globe. So loads of clients in the States, Australia, the UK, and the rest of Europe. And we are a direct response kind of YouTube ad company, which means that basically what we're doing is we, as a company, we fund the advertising for clients, and then they pay us for results. And so what we're looking to do is say, right, on a cost per lead basis or a cost per sale basis, we all kind of agree a relationship with the clients. It's almost like a partnership. And then we go out and create the videos with clients, run the campaigns. And what we're looking to do is get kind of a return very quickly, not only for the client, but for ourselves as well. So we might look to put $1 in and get more than $1 back. And likewise with the client, when they pay us the cost per lead or cost per sale model that we're working to, they would look to acquire a lot of profit off the top of that as well. So yeah, so kind of, I suppose if people kind of see what I do, I'm a YouTube ads guy. I've written a book, as you say, on the subject. I speak on all the stages around the globe, doing it not so much at the moment, but hopefully we'll do again in the future. And we have kind of an agency doing this for clients, and also have a lot of trainings as well, so people can learn how to get into the space of YouTube ads and start running their own campaigns as well.
No, that's fantastic. What was it, Tom, that got you on the journey with YouTube? Because, you know, I find a lot of people in business, they're very aware of Facebook and using those types of platforms, but the YouTube, as consumers, I use it an awful lot, you know, all the time. But as far as business owners using it in the way of thinking of advertising, what was it that got you onto the journey of the YouTube journey?
Yeah, of course. So I suppose I've always had a keen eye to where the opportunity is, and kind of focused in on working out kind of where the next steps would be. So if I kind of take you back to probably university, just before I went to university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always worked hard at school, and there was certain subject matter that I was like really interested in. So kind of I thrived in that space. And then I went on to university and studied psychology, purely because I didn't know what to do, really, more than anything else. But I knew that I wanted to go to university. I wanted to get a degree, because at the time it was much more important, I suppose, or at least it was drummed into me that it was very important to get a degree at that time. I think my mindset had changed a little bit now with the rising costs and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, went to university, did psychology, fell in love with the subject, and just wanted to do more and more of it. So after my degree, I then went to do a master's in the subject as well, and focused a lot in the sport world as well as the business world. And I was always kind of like acquiring all these skills and understanding kind of how human behavior kind of works at a kind of very fundamental level. And I started to kind of looking at how I could use those skills. And I tried to work in the sports world, but at the time, no one was really interested in psychology and sport. Only like the top pros would be interested in ever kind of considering it. Otherwise, you just, they didn't kind of warm to it. Felt like they were working with a shrink, so to speak, as opposed to actually working with performance enhancement kind of techniques and things. And so I quickly, because I was living in London, and I kind of was coming to the end of my master's. I'd finish off my thesis, and at that point I was like, look, I should work out how to make some money out of this if I'm ever going to do it, because all my friends were starting to kind of go into the business world and become bankers or work in insurance and that sort of thing, and starting to get their foot in the on the ladder, so to speak, in terms of their career. And I was still like, okay, well, what am I going to do here? How am I going to use this? And I started trying to kind of work one-to-one with clients. And I did okay. I was kind of advertised in Yellow Pages. That was a terrible idea. That never worked very well for me at all. But my dad and my brother, who's older than me, had both started their businesses when they were very young. And so for me, I felt like, well, I've got a pot of debt over here from university, and it can't get much worse than this. And so I decided to kind of start my own business, and they kind of helped me out a little bit in terms of how to form a company and that type of thing. And then I was struggling to get clients, like any psychologist does. And I was kind of looking at kind of different ways of doing this. And then I had a leaflet come through the door from Google AdWords. I didn't know what it was at the time, and kind of it came through the door, and it gave me £30 worth of credit to use. I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but let's have a look. Yellow Pages thing hadn't worked for me. And so I remember kind of taking it up to my bedroom, which I was like working from my bedroom in London. And I kind of went onto Google AdWords, learned a little bit more about what it was all about. And I thought, well, this seems pretty straightforward. Someone goes to Google, types in something, and then I can show my ad there if I want to. And I can make sure that kind of I say, here's what I do. And at the time I'd kind of niched down into public speaking. So helping people with anxiety and fears of public speaking. I was like, right, I think I can nail that one. I'm definitely not going to be a life coach at the age of 24 or 25 or whatever it was. I was more a case of like saying, right, well, how do I help people? And that was a very specific thing I could definitely help with. And so I plugged in all this stuff on Google, said, right, how do I just put if you need help with public speaking and you're fearful, call this number. Basically, it was as simple as that. My website was terrible, but it was in the good old days, really. And so I ran it, and my first £30 worth of spend, I spent probably about £20 on the first day, and immediately my phone rang twice. And the first time I picked it up, and out of disbelief more than anything else, this actually worked. And so I was talking to a client or a potential client, and I sold them in for a £240 session with me. It was like a 3-hour session. They had a presentation the next week, and they were kind of very nervous about it. So I said, yeah, come in, we'll work it out, and we'll kind of work with you. So I frantically called an office and booked in a slot with the office that I knew, worked with the client, and it worked really, really well. But I kind of, on that day where I spent £20, or probably a little bit more than that, I immediately had 2 phone calls, and both turned into clients. So from my £30 investment, I'd already made £480 back. Wow. I was like, oh, I can do that. I can do that every day. That's not a problem. So the next day I spent another £30 and another £30. And I don't think it kind of worked as well as the first day of return on investment, but I just kept on spending the £30, and the phone kept on ringing, and I kept on closing clients, and I was making a lot more money than I was spending on advertising. So that was kind of my first foray, so to speak, into the world of advertising. I was like, okay, I've seemed to become some sort of ad genius here, making loads of money, but it was just the timing more than anything else. Google was great at that time. It was so easy. If you talk to anybody who was advertising back then, it would have been you didn't need to do anything in order you'd make money, which is great. And then I didn't really have the business sense at that time to think, right, well, I can go and get other people to do some of the work with me. So hire other kind of people that trained in the same way as me, or hire a salesperson, or actually hire an ad person that can actually do this better than I was doing. And so it was me doing everything for a long time, but I booked out my diary. I was making lots of money. And I was just kind of burnt out though, after seeing someone for 3 hours twice a day and helping them overcome their anxieties. It's kind of quite draining work. And I remember just looking at my diary, I was booked out, and I was like, well, I can't complain because I've got money coming in. But I realized it was something I didn't want to do for the rest of my life. And so I thought, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll do workshops. I actually have people come together, and over the space of 2 days have 20 people there or something. And so I tried to pitch something, and I did a video on my site. I think it was one of the first videos in the UK to be on a website. but I remember audio being on sites, but not video. And so I put a video on my landing page, and it kind of kept the same sort of business model, still going to website, give us a call. But this time it was kind of promoting a group thing. And my conversion rates went from 7% to 22%. So it meant that like, if 100 people went to my site, 7 people would have called me previously. As soon as I put the video on there, 22 people called me. And I was like, wow, that is insane. And immediately I dropped the kind of spend on the advertising. Had so many people come through, booking in for one-to-ones and also booking in for the group coaching as well. And I started doing a lot more kind of group kind of sessions with people. And that worked really, really well. And I did one purely for business owners. And then when they came in, a few of the people came to me and said, I love what you did with the video on the site. How do I do that? Because I've got my own business. I'd love to put videos on my own site. And so I helped them create these videos whilst we were there. And I kind of gave them to them, not even thinking I should charge them anything for it. And they started using their own videos and it was working really well. And from there, I started realizing, well, maybe this video thing is a thing to go on, and started using video more and more in my own business, help people else out with videos. Then I started kind of getting into the world of promoting those videos. I would help those same clients say, right, well, how do you get it kind of to rank on YouTube? And how do you get it to kind of be everywhere on Google and things? And so I'd help them with that process because I was learning it myself and might as well just teach them what I found out. And then I actually kind of, without realizing it, had built a whole agency with clients, spending money with me every month, running their SEO campaigns, like getting them ranked on Google and YouTube. And had a whole team doing this for clients. And I kind of stumbled across becoming an agency more than anything else. I didn't realize that was what I was building at the time. But then Google changed everything on me, and they came out with these updates. There were panda updates, penguin updates, hummingbird updates, all animals. I don't know why they're all animals. Maybe they sound softer than these updates that were catastrophic for a lot of businesses. And what they did is they decided to change the rules and change how they allow things to appear in the search engines and results. And as a result, a load of our videos that we help with clients started dropping off the first pages of Google and YouTube, and all the traffic just died a death for a lot of our clients. And I was panicking because I was like, well, I've got a whole team now, and I've got a load of these clients, and I don't have anything going anymore. And I was kind of reeling a little bit and didn't know how to take the next step. And I just remembered back to my kind of first business where I was doing the public speaking stuff, and I was like, well, I did quite well with this AdWords thing. Maybe I should revisit that. And so I took one of my clients' videos that I thought was one of our best ones and ran it as an ad. I didn't really know what I was doing because it was like, how do I even use a video in an ad? And will it even work? And I didn't know. So I decided to run it as an ad. I kind of went on Google AdWords again and tried to kind of figure it out, ran it. And I remember kind of running it, and it looked like we were doing really, really well. I'd spent a bit of money, not much, probably about $10 or something, got a few leads. And I called the client, I said, hey, are these leads any good? And he was like, yeah, they seem to be quite good. And I was like, great, because we're trying some ads and I just wanted to see if it was working for you. Then the next day I put a bit more of my own money in. And bear in mind, I was spending this because I was purely embarrassed that we'd lost these results for a client. So I was spending my own money. And the next day he was like, hey, these leads are really, really good. I'll give you like £10 for every lead that you get if you're going into this advertising world. And it was costing me around about £4 to acquire the lead. And I was like, okay, for every £4 I make, he makes £10. And I knew that he was making so much more off the back of that as well. He's probably making £30, £40 off the top of that, if not more. But I didn't have those numbers to hand. And I was like, that works for me. And so then I just kept trying to spend as many pounds as I could on advertising, and the client paid me back, and the client make a lot of money as well. And before I knew it, I'd kind of done that for a lot of the clients that we're working with in the SEO space. We lost a few clients, but we kept the majority of the best clients. And then again, the business just scaled and grown, and it's been 7 years now of doing exactly that. So running ads for clients on YouTube, we get better and better all the time. And yeah, it's such an exciting platform. It's like, as you say, like it's where the world goes to watch video. People are going there more than ever, especially right now as coronavirus hits and people are at home and shut, like it's all on lockdown and things. There seems to be this kind of big surge in activity on YouTube. YouTube is now seen on TVs a lot more as well, on smart TVs. So everyone's seeing these YouTube videos everywhere. And if you know what the right strategy is, and I'm happy to talk about that, then you can get these videos in front of your ideal prospects when they're already searching for you And it doesn't take that much to actually turn those people from viewers of your video into actual customers at profit. And then if you get it to work at profit, then you can really scale it. And that's kind of what we do as an agency.
Right, fantastic. So that was a journey. It kind of just, as many entrepreneurs do, like just go down the rabbit hole, so to speak, and find yourself in another space. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So with that, then the listeners, tuning in right now, if they haven't done anything with YouTube before, where would be the best place for them to start?
Good question. So I think that a lot of people want to go the safe route, which is where psychologically is safe, where you think, right, I'll go onto YouTube and I'll create a video and I'll put it onto a channel and I'll start there. And I get that and I understand that. And I recommend people to go and do that anyway, because it's good for the brand and good for your own practice to create videos and things. The problem with that is that quite a lot of effort goes into creating videos, not just with the spend of the equipment and things, but also just getting good at it is kind of, you've got to be good at kind of putting the whole thing together, editing it, a lot of time commitment, a lot of financial commitment, and a lot of energy as well. Like I know that the first video I put on my website, it took me 123 takes to get right. And it took me all evening, and I did it because I thought I've got to get this right. And I was using a camcorder with a battery, and then when the battery ran out, I had to kind of wait for it to charge up again and all this sort of stuff. So I realized that it's not easy. And so the safe route, so to speak, is like, well, create a video and put it onto YouTube. And I get that. But so many people do that and then get like 1 or 2 views or something and then give up. And then it's all of a sudden they've got this video on YouTube and it's not working well for them, and they don't realize what they need to do. And likewise, it's not going to fit for every single business. Like if you're running like I see one guy right now, and as like coronavirus is kind of getting bigger, like a landlord who doesn't have any patrons at the moment. He's doing like cocktail videos on YouTube and just having fun with it. And sometimes that's where people have a huge breakthrough, is like you just have fun with it, just enjoy the process. And all of a sudden it's like, great, you're having fun. Viewers are having fun. They're watching you. They're enjoying it. But it's not like he's going to get a load of customers to his pub. It's just he's going kind of getting very, very popular all over the globe. And that's kind of one angle that you can almost bring a new type of business model to a business potentially. Because if you have like loads and loads of people watching all over the globe, but you have a pub, then the pub's not going to necessarily do that well from it. It may do locally, but you're more likely better off to kind of like create some sort of like a cocktail recipe kind of PDF or menu or something along those lines, where people all over the globe can go and buy it for a small fee, but then you're kind of constantly making money all over the globe, which is kind of a better angle to go on. But if people want to get started with YouTube, but it depends where you're at with the business. If it's brand new and you don't know what you're doing, then I wouldn't actually say YouTube's the best platform in the world to go and explore to begin with. It could be like LinkedIn might be better, or even Facebook can be good as well. But I would recommend anyone that feels like they've got a good offer where they're kind of I wouldn't say established, kind of to say you've been doing business for 5 years or something. Just as soon as you think, right, I've got an offer that I think will work really well, and I can see my business doing well with this particular offer I've created here, then that's where I think that YouTube advertising can work. If you think about it, like with the way that YouTube advertising works is that you can choose the different types of targeting, and some of those targeting types are kind of placement targeting and keyword targeting, which I love. And placement targeting is where you can literally choose the individual videos on YouTube that you would like your ad to appear in front of. And you can pay like, let's say 3 cents per view. You can choose how much you spend, which means you can say, right, if any of my customers are watching a video like that one there, that's almost ideal. Like say, for example, you're like, well, give me something that you might sell, like one of your customers might sell, so I can kind of give it some context here.
Yeah, so I have customers who sell some beauty treatments at the moment.
Great. Okay, perfect. So, and would it be like a local clinic, or would it be something which would be a product that you can sell worldwide?
It's mainly a local clinic for them, yes.
Great. Okay, perfect. So what you can do on YouTube ads then is you can say, right, well, let's just run an ad to a 10-mile radius around my clinic, or 5-mile radius, depending on how far people are willing to travel. And then what you can do is say, right, anyone going on YouTube and typing in facial cleansing routines, or I don't know much about that world, but there's going to be certain keywords that people are typing in that you think, yeah, that's as ideal. And there's going to be loads of videos that come up for those search results that are kind of like routines on how to kind of keep your complexion clear, or I don't know, whatever it might be that people are looking for. And you can make a list of those and say, right, if anyone in this 10-mile radius types in those types of things and falls into this kind of age bracket, because you might say, well, 18 and below might not be necessarily your ideal clients. You can choose your age bracket that would be right. And you can choose females. Then you can say, right, well, that's kind of my ideal audience. If anyone in that kind of age bracket, right gender and the right location are typing in and watching videos like these, I want my ad to show to them. And you can do that. And it can be that specific, and you still get really good viewership from it, especially in a space like makeup and beauty and things, because that's huge on YouTube. Yeah. And so it means that you can become like a celebrity brand almost in the eyes of your viewers in just a very local campaign. Because the beauty of YouTube is that, yes, you can actually drive kind of a link from your YouTube video straight to your website and get them to sign up or something. But the thing that I really love about YouTube is that you can get great results, and you can turn $1 into more than $1 very, very quickly and at scale as well. But the impact you have on people's psychology is such that if you see a YouTube video from somebody, it has such an impact because it's more like TV than anything else, especially how YouTube is now becoming like a TV channel almost, because we can download it onto our TVs. And if you imagine like the heuristic or kind of like the mental shortcut that people make in their own minds without them realizing they're doing it, as soon as you see someone, if you see a brand on TV, you think established, credible, before they've even said anything. You're like, well, if you've made it onto TV, you must be a serious business. Yeah. And people borrow the same sort of mindset for any YouTube advertising as well. They're like, oh, well, if you've made it onto YouTube, you must be good then. And that does so much for your brand. You don't have to be, I would always recommend to be good, of course, but you wouldn't even have to be. People will believe that about you by just the fact that you're advertising on that platform. And you get that from YouTube, and you don't really get that from anywhere else. You don't necessarily get that from Facebook so much, because people are aware of loads of like smaller brands advertising on Facebook. Exactly the same thing is available to us on YouTube, but the impact you have with your customers is such that they think, wow, you're advertising on YouTube, you must be a big deal. And that does wonders for you when it comes to closing that business, when they kind of call your company and you're like, yeah, we're just around the corner from you. It's an easy close for any salesperson on a phone, or even building an audience there. But I would recommend, if you're getting into YouTube, is to skip that organic stage, that kind of creating ads and trying to build an audience kind of like with content and things like that. Don't ignore it, do it. But yeah, I would skip that to a certain extent when you first get started, because when you advertise and then you know what works, then you just start creating more content that works, because you've got the data to say, when I do this, when I run this ad to this targeting, to these demographics, it works really well. And you're like, great, well, just create more of that content and then just keep on pushing that out there. But you want to start with something that drives results, because then you can justify spending more money in that space.
Right, I see. So for anybody doing this, then, because I obviously said that create content to obviously do that, but at the same time, when you go into that space, have an offer, something that you can actually drive people to.
Yeah, exactly.
Place.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing is that people think that they have to have some sort of amazing video ad, and that can help, but I don't think that's kind of what's actually needed. Sometimes, well, there's three areas that I look at extensively with any client that we work with. It's going to be the offer itself. It's going to be the video ad experience, and I'll talk about that in just a second, and then the targeting. So targeting, we talked about, just choose like your most ideal customers from a local area if you're running a local business. And so you can say, right, I just want to advertise to the people in this area that are female, of a certain age bracket, typing in these types of keywords or watching these types of videos. And you can be that granular, and that works really, really well and very cheap to get started. And you can spend like $10 a day and get great results. So that's targeting. The offer itself, if you've built your business and it's kind of, you're comfortable with that offer, don't change the offer just to fit YouTube. I used to say change the offer to fit YouTube, but I've now switched that, because that's hard. That's hard to know what actually works. And what I recommend instead is build a better ad experience. And what I mean by a better ad experience is that don't just look at the ad, like the video that you create, as the only piece that is your kind of promotional piece, so to speak. Stick with it, a filtering system. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So what's really hard is creating an ad that's out of this world that gets people to click and then go and buy. It can be done, and it's done on a regular basis, but it's normally reserved for companies that have been marketing for years and doing really, really well. What you're better off doing is building some sort of survey funnel that I'd recommend. I call it kind of an ad experience, or a choose your own adventure. I call it lots of things, but let's call it a choose your own adventure for the time being. What I'd recommend you do is, before you put the offer in front of people, almost so imagine if you had like a physical store, and you're going to have three types of customers. One that's kind of walking by and doesn't know who you are, but could be interested. They're like a window shopper. They stop, they may look inside your store and think, oh, that's interesting. I may go in one day, maybe now, maybe later, but I see this shop is of interest to me because it's got the same sort of stuff. I'm not necessarily looking for anything right now, but that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Then you get some people that come in the store because they're already looking for something that you offer. Let's say, for example, you sell TVs. They might come in and think, look, I want a TV. I want it to go up on the wall. I want it to be big enough for the family. And if it can be smart, so I can download movies onto it and things, great. But I don't know what brand is good. I don't know, like some look like $4,000 or £4,000 and some at £500. Like, what's the difference? I don't know. And so the salesperson would ask you a few questions, and then based on that, they would say which they've got and which might be right for them. And then you have the third type of customer, which is like a checkout shopper. So you've got the window shopper, in-store shopper, and checkout shopper. And those people are kind of those people that have made their decision. They're like, yeah, okay, cool. I know which one I want then. And they might just need a little bit more detail about kind of how it might, like how it's going to be installed, and what perks come with it, and what's the warranty, and what's the price again, and that type of thing. So they need a final convincing more than anything else, just to go make that purchase. It doesn't change online. We all go through that mental process as well. So when you're going online with YouTube, you're probably going to be more attracting those people that are in-store shoppers. So they've already looking up makeup tutorials, let's say, for example, or kind of daily face care, or I don't know, whatever content that people look up in that space. What I'd recommend you do is you put an ad in front of them, but before you go and create the ad or write the ad, what you want to do is put almost like the salesperson piece, as if you were going to the store and you ask about TVs, they're going to ask you questions about what TV and what's important to you about those TVs, so they can make a better recommendation on what product to buy. Yeah. That's what you need to build on your website. So you can do this, with myself, I've got one where I send traffic from a YouTube ad, and it goes to will YouTube ads work for you? And it's kind of like a decision tree. I call it choose your own adventure. So people will kind of say, I got a series of questions, and based on those questions, I can then actually give them really good advice. And then I give them the advice, and then if it makes sense to send them on to a product of mine, I'll be like, go and get this one. It's the perfect one for you at the stage you're at. And it means that then when I create the video ad, I'm not pushing my message to say, you must buy this product like a teleshopping ad. I'm now saying, hey, YouTube ads is great. It's going to do wonders for so many people. Look at the great results it's getting. I'm really good at it. I've got a simple system that works really, really well. But before I kind of pitch you on it or anything like that, I need to know more about you first. And I need to know if YouTube ads will actually work for you or not. So what I'd love you to do is click here. It'll take you to a quick few questions, answer those questions, and then I can actually give you much, much better advice. Right. Now, by creating ads like that, it's so much easier to create an ad that's compelling, because you're saying to people, before you come and invest with me, I need to know a little bit more about you. And it builds trust, and it builds kind of respect for your viewer as well. And it kind of allows you to filter your audience and then give them a specific sales message. So like a salesperson would do in a store, they would ask their questions, and they'd say, okay, what's important to your TV? Do you want it to look like this or like this? Does it need to hang on the wall? Whatever questions that might be important to a salesperson working in a TV store. But then if they can document those questions down and are likely to ask every single time, they then can almost like put that on a website, and based on their answers, you can kind of go down a decision tree and then give them bespoke advice. So I'd recommend do the same thing with, let's say, for example, a clinic that is offering beauty and kind of makeup and kind of whatever else you might be selling there. You might say, okay, what's most important to you? Is it clear complexion? Is it looking younger? Is it looking fresher? Is it the nutrients of your skin? I don't know any of this stuff, obviously. And based on those, you can kind of give people a multiple choice and say, oh, I'm most interested in this. And they're like, okay, great. Well, what's now most important to you, and what's your age, and what condition is your skin in right now, and where do you want it to be? And if you ask those questions on your site, a tool like Typeform can work really well for this type of thing.
Right.
Then you can kind of like have them go to a specific video that you create to be like, okay, cool. So based on your answers, here's what I'd actually recommend. And actually what you can do is come into our clinic, and we actually have a kind of a face routine that we'd love to kind of, or a treatment that would work really, really well for you. So if you're interested in having that, here's our phone number, give us a call or fill in this form here. Now that product is always available, that offer is always available for people. But now from your YouTube ad, you're saying, hey, we can help you get really clear complexion and have the best skin of your life. But before that happens, we just need to know a little bit more about you first and what's important to you, so we can make a better recommendation. You go through that survey quiz or that choose your own adventure. And at the end of that, you give them bespoke advice and then sell them one of the offers that you would actually recommend. Right. That unlocks the advertising for any platform, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, anything. Because now your message to people is like, we're really good, but I can't help you unless I know more about you. And that is such a better sales pitch to have from a video ad. And it becomes this whole experience. And that's, I feel like, the way to crack it, not just for YouTube ads, but any advertising and any content you create as well. Because it's a beautiful way to end an ad to say, click here to go and find out more. But there's actually a process that we would recommend you go through so we can find out more about you and recommend the right treatment for you.
Right, great. So with that then, just so we can make sense of that. So there's an ad on YouTube. People respond to the ad, and would that ad then take them off YouTube to maybe a website or a different landing page where then you could carry out the survey and gather the information?
Exactly, yeah. So you'll go straight from a YouTube ad, and it will go to you just need to build one page on your website, really.
Right.
And on your website, then you can use a tool like Typeform, a pretty inexpensive tool, but it's a brilliant tool for kind of asking the questions, loading quickly, and a really nice design, and you can design it however you wish. But if you get good at Typeform, which doesn't take long to do, then you can kind of decide what questions you would ask. So I'd actually recommend people kind of would sit there before they even look at Typeform and say, all right, what questions will we ask someone on a phone? So we know more about them, like what questions will we go through? And once you kind of worked out what questions you would ask and in what way, then you're like, great, now we can build an online form to do this, so to speak. And Typeform can work really well. And it's like a big decision tree. And you can and then you might come up with like 10 different responses that you have for people. And then it's like 10 quick videos. Like we could kind of film them like this right now, so to speak. So we could kind of like say, right, if they clicked this, and this, what response could we have for them? And then you just kind of quickly shoot a video, and then you can put that into the form itself. So the experience becomes they kind of click a few links, they get a really bespoke answer, which then pitches or promotes the offer that you would have for people. So yeah, click from an ad straight to one page that hosts this or embeds this form in. And then based on all the answers, you can actually have a new URL. So as soon as they click that last button on the Typeform, it'll go to another website or another page that you have within your website that can pitch the right offer for them, basically. So it means that people get a really, really bespoke, tailored answer to their questions. But as I said, like with that piece, you don't have to change the offer, but you just need to change the ad over here a little bit to say this ad now flows into this decision tree, choose your own adventure type kind of process, basically. But it is, whenever we've done this with clients, it's worked insanely well. We've done it in the fitness space really, really well. So kind of asking questions around male, female, age range, kind of what type of exercise level you're at, what's a body type you have, where you want to get to. And then at the end of it, just kind of has a video that's bespoke to you based on your answers. We've done it really, really well in the guitar space as well. So anytime someone's looking to learn the guitar, it's like, well, do you have a guitar? And then how long have you been playing the guitar? Are you someone that's new or experienced or coming back to playing guitar? And once you know all those answers, you go like, oh, great. Well, now I know this. I can actually really help you. And then you put like a video in front of them, and you're going to get such a better response rate because you're you're kind of advising first. You're almost becoming their consultant. Like if you were to go to a doctor, they're not going to be like, oh, you must take this pill before they ask anything. They're going to be like, no, let me ask you a few questions first. And like, oh, you don't need a pill. You need this instead. You're like, great, that's great. I'll take your advice then, doc. And that's kind of the approach we're taking here, is to ask the questions you need to ask in order to have a better response to people.
Right. But no, that makes complete sense, yeah, because then people are able to gather the information and then make an informed decision on what it is. And also with that, you're able to also give them lots of different products that's really more suited to them, that you want.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you've got multiple products, then you can kind of say, like you would do in a clinic, so you might have like multiple treatments, multiple products. And so you would need to know more about your customer in order to actually give them a good experience and say, oh, well, what you actually need is this instead then, based on this answer you just told me a second ago. Or call us and we'll talk it through. That's kind of a really nice call to action as well. But what you can do also is that if you've got one product, like myself, I've got kind of two products. One is just like the YouTube ad agency, and one is the YouTube ad training that we do. And with those, I'm kind of seeking the information to know if what we do is going to help them, but also asking information that allows me to tailor my pitch to them. So let's say, for example, well, before we jumped on this podcast, I was interested in your audience, so I can kind of talk in the way that's right for your audience, right? But a couple of weeks ago, I did one for an AdWords kind of a guy who basically talks the most geekiest conversation about analytics and tracking, and I had to change my pitch a little bit, or my message a little bit, because it's very much a case of saying, right, well, when you've built all of this and you need to put the pixels in the right place, and and so like I'm going down that route by asking a few simple questions, so I know how to kind of speak on the to the audience in the most effective way. You're not really changing anything about that. You're just gathering a bit of information so you can actually be helpful. And that's what you're looking to do here. So you're either saying, right, well, based on your answers, we can have an array of different products. I'm going to choose the right ones for you. Or I've got one product and I need to find out a little bit of information so I can tell you about some of the features and the benefits that are right. It's the same thing, but I'm just highlighting certain aspects of it that will be really useful for you. I've done this with a book before. So we kind of talk about like asking a few simple questions. Then you're like, well, do you know what? Because of you said this on page 40, it actually goes through in that in detail. And so it means that people are like, okay, cool. Now I want to know what's on page 40 because apparently that's perfect for me. And so it's the same book, but it's like you're just finding out what information is important to the person, so you can choose a chapter to explore in the video that you kind of use to pitch the book. Yeah, it's just kind of really thinking about it in a much more human-based way. Like I see a lot of companies saying, oh, you've got to build this type of funnel, and I just look at it as an experience of what would you say if you're in front of that person right now, if you knew what they've been doing. So they've just been looking at a YouTube video and they've kind of are looking for advice about this. You're like, great, I know exactly what I would do if I was face to face with them. And you're trying to do your very best to replicate that on an online experience for them, because as humans, that's how we like to behave and like to kind of experience the sales approach, as opposed to saying it has to be us seeing an ad, it has to be all singing or dancing in order for us to be like, that's amazing, now I'm going to click and go and buy it just purely out of that. That's a really difficult thing to do from advertising. So look at it from a much more consultative approach, to be like, let me find a little bit more information about you first, and then based on that I can actually give you a better recommendation, and it builds so much more trust with your customers as well.
Great. No, that's fantastic. It makes absolute perfect sense. It does, yeah. With that, I have a lot of people who are starting to want to come into the YouTube space, but like you said, that a couple of videos might have one person like it, or maybe not much engagement, and a lot of people say, I'm putting a lot of energy into this. How do I increase my following, or how do I kind of improve the whole platform that I'm trying to make for people? How do I do that?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's not an easy one to answer. It would depend on the type of business. So, but also depends on what you want. Like a lot of times people will say like, oh, I really want a big following on YouTube. And the next question of, well, why, needs to be clear and needs to be something that is a coherent answer. So I know myself, I want a big following on YouTube. When I come to think about it and why, it's an ego-based thing, and it's not necessarily going to drive too much new business for us, really. I don't have the right product for a big following on YouTube, because not that many people worldwide are interested in running YouTube ads. It's going to be a very specific entrepreneurial type audience that are kind of going to consider it. But if I talk to my wife about it, she's like, what on earth are you talking about? I've known you for however many years, and she still is not interested in YouTube ads as much as I like to talk to her about it. And likewise, like my dad, who's my accountant, has no idea about what I do on a day-to-day basis. And so you kind of think, well, why do you want the big following? And I get it, because it's like, it's nice to have that validation. It's nice to have an audience to talk to and build your brand and that type of thing. But there needs to be a good reason for building it in the first place. And once you've got that, then you can be like, okay, cool. Now I know why I'm going to go and explore this big audience. Yeah. If you're selling to a massive audience, and you've got kind of products that fit everybody, then great. But likewise, for a local company, you really don't need a big following. It's better to have a much closer knit niche following. And the way to do that is engage with the audience as best as possible. So if you wanted to go big or small, the best thing I know of, apart from kind of creating the content that's valuable and that type of thing. But the problem is with that is that there's so many people doing that already. Like, why would someone choose you over somebody else? So it has to be that angle a little bit. So personality always helps. Or if you're a local company, that would be good as well. Like, I live in Reigate in the UK, and I subscribe to a lot of Reigate news and Reigate kind of information. And I love seeing all the businesses in Reigate promoting themselves and that type of thing, because it's kind of like, it's of interest to me because it's a local based thing. I would, if it was like another town, I have no interest whatsoever in another town's information, not at all. So bear in mind, like, you've got to have a natural wanting of following. Like, Tom Breeze as a brand is only going to be interesting for people that are interested in running YouTube ads. And that's going to explore to certain other people as well. So advertisers in general, and then marketers in general, for instance. But that's still not everybody in the planet type, million subscriber type audience. And I don't know how useful that would be for me either. So I know it's an ego play. If I really think it through, I'm like thinking, well, I want that because of ego. Or maybe real long-term thinking, well, I've got a big voice, like with a big following. So I'm always kind of umming and ahhing about like the value of a big community. I feel like your customers and your leads that you're generating, and you build a relationship with those guys 100% of the time. Yes. But it's much easier to build like a small audience and really love those people and get referrals and get kind of word of mouth. You'll be far better off doing it that way. And then the byproduct is that you are starting to create more videos for those people, and people start loving that stuff. Like, so in the UK, Joe Wicks is doing the fitness stuff in the mornings. And I've done it this morning as well. I do it with the kids as well. Yeah, exactly. It's great. And so I think he's got like, I think he gets like 900,000 viewers online at the same time. And now he's kind of, he's doing ridiculously well, and it's kind of, but you think like, well, we're logging on. We've got like 4 of us doing it. So there's probably going to be like 2 or 3 million people actually watching him in the morning. Now, I don't think he set out to begin with to be like, I want a massive following of that. He may have had that in a future vision type thing, to be like, oh, one day I want to be able to help every school kid in the world start exercising and things. But you've got to take the baby steps to begin with. Like, and that's going to come from building good value, but really respecting the followers you do have. And he feels really local to a lot of people. He feels like, oh, it's Joe, it's my mate Joe, so to speak. It's not like his brand and really well thought through. It is now, but like to begin with, he was just putting great stuff out there, got picked up, and then he started creating products, made a load of money, and now it affords him the luxury to be able to build a massive audience, and then it kind of grows and scales from there. But if you had tried to build a massive audience from day one with that vision, it would have been a very low chance of success, because it's probably, for every Joe Wicks, there's going to be hundreds that wish they'd done it as well, and probably put in as much effort. But there's all that kind of heartache, and it's not a robust, reliable way to grow a brand, I don't think, in the early days. once you've built a lot of money and you've got a really established business, then sure, go into that space. It's going to be a new project for you, and you've got kind of a firm footing, and you can immediately monetize a lot of the work that you're doing in that space. But yeah, I would look at it from a standpoint of like, get your business set up first, get it working really, really well, feel really comfortable with that. And once you afford yourself more time and money, go and then explore that. But it's not like it's going away. This is getting bigger every day. So it's not going to be the sort of thing where you're like, oh, you've missed the boat on building an audience. Like, that's been going on for a long time, and it will continue to go on for a long time. So don't feel like it has to be right now. I would say that get something that drives customers at profit and at scale for you first, because if you get that piece sorted out, then everything else becomes possible.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. Now, a little bit of a change of a question here. Obviously, you've created a very successful business, and you help people globally create their own successful businesses as well, bringing in customers and everything. What would you say to any business owner that you believe is the key ingredient to becoming successful?
I get this question every now and again on podcasts, and I always find it difficult to answer. But I have given coherent answers in the past, so hopefully I'll do my best to kind of give you something that's useful. One of the key strengths I think I have is to sit with a problem and think of how to overcome that problem, and don't let that question go, so to speak. Like, keep asking the same question of myself. And it may take me a couple of weeks to work it out, but a lot of the time I see it with a lot of people that I have worked with or people that I know. They sometimes kind of can't work out the problem and the solution to the problem quickly, and so they give up on it and they kind of go and explore something else. Whereas they were so close to getting it right, and they're breaking new ground and that type of thing. So it's not like the answers are sitting there for them. It's like YouTube advertising there's still not really a very good training out there on YouTube advertising. I would like to say that mine's good, but it, like with Facebook, there's hundreds of trainings out there. With YouTube, I didn't have anything when I first got started with YouTube. And so it's not like I could go and explore what other people had done. I had to kind of like learn from just advertising in general, and then how to learn video, and it kind of brought it all together. And that's where I've had a big breakthrough in terms of like, not that many people do what I do. And that's helped me a lot. I think that the thing that has really helped me the most, though, is to sit there with the problem and don't let up on it. Like, sit there with it, own the problem, like look it square in the eyes, and kind of think, right, how we're going to get through this, how we're going to kind of get to the other side. Because when you start thinking creatively and you start realizing what is possible, then you start forming that habit. And it's amazing how many times the obstacles don't even really seem like an obstacle any longer. It feels like very surmount, like this is easy. I can get through this one. This isn't too bad. We'll figure out a way. But figuring out a way can take weeks sometimes, and just, that's okay. You'll figure it out. And that's normally when I'm building anything new, a new project or a new service that might tie into what we already do. I'm always thinking, right, well, how do I do this? So one of the big problems I've got at the moment that I don't like is that with our previous trainings, and this goes for any training from anybody that's ever created one as well, the people that get to the end of the course is normally in like the sub 10% of people. Like people that buy a course and actually go and do the course and actually then go and implement and make it work for them is such a small percentage, and it hurts me. Like, I feel like at university, I went to university and there was like a 95% show up rate to, and I think like 100% of people went to the exams and actually completed the exams. Yeah. If you do it online, there's not that many people doing that. And so that kind of really frustrates me and makes me feel like I'm a bad teacher or trainer. And there's truth in that to a certain extent. And I'm willing to accept that and say, that is the problem that we got to fix first before we go and put a training out there. And so whilst a lot of business owners will be like, well, it's customers that if they don't want to complete it, they don't want to complete it. Well, it doesn't feel right to me. I feel like I have to work out how to make that actually happen. So I've been sitting that for probably more than a year now to be like, how do we make sure that we don't leave anybody behind? If someone buys this product, how do we make sure we get them to get the success? And the numbers are looking much, much better. And we're still working on it. It's a problem that I'm sitting with for a long time. But I know once I crack it, it means I'm going to be so much more confident about selling it, because there's going to be so many more case studies of people doing great stuff. But that's like a problem I'm sitting with at the moment. I'm trying to figure out. But I know I'll work it out. It's just I need to give it a bit of time. And it goes for anything. Like it goes for your sales methods, your kind of ads, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. Sit there with it to be like, how are we going to make this work in the way that I want it to work, and don't let up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I do think sometimes, you know, we can hit those brick walls, and people that, yeah, like you said, they can sometimes just jump off too quickly rather than seeing it through. And I think that's great advice, actually, especially in the time that we are right now, where a lot of business owners are finding themselves having to find new solutions, and also pivot and change things as well. So yeah, absolutely, I completely resonate with that.
Yeah, I think like, so going back to that kind of the beauty one, like that'll be an easy thing to then ask those questions, and off the back of it say like, okay, here's what I recommend. Like, here's the daily routine I'd recommend you do. Put a few videos together, and it can be done from home, like not too bad, not too difficult to do it. Just buy a light and a mic and a camera and film yourself doing a facial routine, so to speak. And then say, here's the products that I use for this. I can package them up and put them into a box for you and send it to you if you wish. And so you can turn your whole business online by doing the tutorials and letting people buy the products and put your markup on it, of course. But that is something that, like, you can move that business online quite easily. I've got a client of mine who does real estate in the US and selling homes, and he can't. Everyone's on lockdown, no one's buying, and no one can meet each other and this type of thing. And so what he's done it completely virtual. So he now sends the 3D cameras to the people that want to sell their homes and say, here's how you do it. It's actually not that difficult, but just set it up. And then so he sends it to them. They kind of take all the photos and do whatever you need to do with a 3D camera, give it back to him. Then he's got this kind of 3D design thing that builds. And then instead of you going on an actual tour of the house, they do a virtual tour, but they jump on with you on Zoom or Skype or whatever it is, share the screen, walk it through together. And so and they can get through so many more showings because they're kind of just virtually going around these properties. And people can see exactly what it's like. And as a result, he's saying that, like, he's getting more and more of these bookings come through, and all of a sudden his business is going to transform in a positive way because he doesn't have to spend all his time walking people around and dud viewers and this type of thing. Now he's got like a kind of loads of people that are just saying, right, I want to look at these 3 properties online with you. It takes them half an hour to go through them all, and then they can put their bid in. And it's literally like he's just doing this on a regular basis now. And he said it will just completely transform his business for the better. And he's never thought of it before. So it's almost like, well, how are you going to still carry on doing that business? It's amazing how creative we can be when it comes, and how many other benefits that you never thought of are possible now. So yeah, it's really exciting to see how people adapt and change these times, and hopefully a lot of companies will thrive as a result of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like, with this time, it is challenging, but like you just said there is opportunities as well that you move forward. And I think for the listeners out there, you know, what I've been kind of saying is, just because right now you might not be able to exchange the value of your product as you normally do, there's nothing stopping you actually still sharing your own knowledge and your value as well in that way. I think YouTube possibly is a place to do that on, you know, if you create videos and share that content about your product or what your offer is, or your services as well. I think that's a great opportunity there. Yeah,
100%.
I just I'll be jumping off soon, but one more thing is, you know, if you could go back to Tom at the very beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, what advice would you, knowing everything that you know now, what would be the main piece of advice you would give yourself?
Yeah. One of the things that I wish I'd done sooner was strategic relationships. I think is key, because they weather all storms, and like there can be good times and bad times and that sort of thing. But if you have the right people around you to pull on, all the better. So for example, you're doing a podcast now, right? And you're probably going to be meeting a lot of people through the podcast. It's a great way of meeting the people that you want to meet and spending some decent time with them and getting advice from them and building a relationship with them and things, because that is a great way of doing things. And also build your strategic relationships as well, right? Because like, if you wanted to pull on me for a question later on, or kind of a favor or advice or whatever it is, the chances are that's likely to happen. And you have that kind of relationship in that way. Not to say that you're doing that purely from like the standpoint of like you want to build that relationship so you can ask questions in the future. It's more like you're building the relationships, but you can do introductions and all that sort of stuff. One of the things that I found that worked really well for me when I first started my agency, when I realized it was actually a YouTube ad agency, was to build connections with people that wouldn't be directly beneficial to me, but would be indirectly incredibly beneficial to me. So, for example, I developed a relationship by buying into their mastermind and with a Facebook advertiser. And he was teaching me all about Facebook ads. I just wanted to learn more about it so I could work out how it could dovetail with YouTube. We got talking on a regular basis. And then he was like, oh, look, I know you do YouTube massively. There's an opportunity to be featured in Digital Marketers website, which is a huge kind of website in my space. And I was like, okay, that's so cool. And so I did a blog post for them. And they're crying out for content, but they just want good introductions to people. So this person was a great introducer for me. And then I went on their podcast. Then I went on their stage and spoke on their TNC. I've done that now for, it was going to be a 5th year this year. But obviously with no travel, that wasn't quite so easy. But with respect to kind of like building the connections, it was like if you build relationships with the right people, then you all these doors start opening like naturally for you as well, which is where the big breakthroughs came through from me. And I didn't really respect that earlier in my career, so I feel like I should have done that earlier. But one of the things we do now a lot of the time is like, again, when we have a good client, we'll talk to that client and say, who else is doing similar things for you? Who are your other suppliers? If you want to look at it from other types of businesses and things. So you say, hey, the chances are that we can benefit the service we generate for you if we know who your suppliers are, because we can play nice with those guys. And so it kind of all becomes more of a natural thing. But let's say, for example, you're providing product A to a client and you get introduced to one of the other suppliers who's offering product B. They're not competing each other. They're just complementary to each other. It's another service, for example. If you get to know that supplier and you say, hey, we do product A's for loads of different people, it's really, really cool. And you do product B's for loads of people. I'd love to look at how we could do more of your products, your product B's for our clients. Because they're like, yeah, that makes sense. You've got ideal clients because you've already got this client that we're both working for, and you've got more of them. That's amazing. Yeah. So you can start introducing business to them, but obviously they're going to have loads of clients that you can help as well. And so it's not necessarily going at it from a standpoint of like, I want to get access to your customers. So it's you going first, is that reciprocity scenario. So it's like, if your client can introduce you to someone else who's also providing a service and they have a lot of other clients just like them, then you're like, great, well, that's my client base. How can I help that person out to build a strategic alliance with them? So they start introducing more of their business and maybe give them a kickback, maybe just introduce your own clients, whatever it might be. But then you can start to really expand very quickly because each one of your customers that you're working with, or your clients that you're working with, are going to have loads of suppliers. And so really that extended network, if you have 10 clients, they might have 3 people each. They say, oh, I've got 3 people I want to introduce you to if you want to meet all of our other suppliers. That's 30 people. And those 30 people have got kind of 10 clients each. So that's enough business to go around very, very quickly indeed by just building that strategic relationship with people. So that's something that's really valuable. So we build really good relationships with other agencies. And the benefits of that are like, I get to understand what's happening in the industry very quickly and helping people out. But I get to introduce my clients to them and they introduce their clients to me because there's no stepping on each other's toes or anything. I just do YouTube and they just do Facebook, for example. And that's grown the company really quickly because you get the best type of people. You don't have to go through all that rubbish kind of client stuff. You just get to the best clients very, very quickly. And that's what I'd recommend for anybody looking to build their businesses, to kind of build a relationship with the right people that can introduce you more and more business. Because that will just be a constant flow no matter what happens in the marketplace. Yeah.
You mentioned a word actually that got my ears pricking there. And it was mastermind.
Okay, yeah.
This for me was a massive light bulb moment for myself. Like I heavily invest in myself and I join masterminds and other groups where there's people there, and I'm always trying to be when in those groups the thickest person in the room.
Okay, yeah.
because I believe that, you know, there's so much to learn from other people. And well, I'd like to take your viewpoint on you being involved in a mastermind and why you're involved in groups like that.
I joined the masterminds to begin with because it feels like there's a benefit to me to begin with. So it might be like I'm looking to learn something, or I'm looking to meet a load of the right people, whatever it might be. So I work with a mentor of mine who kind of works me one-to-one, but he has also a mastermind and community and things. That's guy's James Shremko, and I've been working with him for 3 or 4 years. When I first started working with him, I wanted him just to help me on a one-to-one basis, like tell me what to do to improve my business type thing. But then he started introducing a load of business to me. I spoke on his stage, and he's kind of, I don't know how much money I've spent with him and how much I've got back. I didn't really care about that because I'm not looking at it from the financial perspective. I'm just looking to upgrade my mind, so to speak, from his advice, which has happened so many times. So there's that type of relationship. I also have joined a kind of a company called Baby Bathwater, and with those guys, it's kind of, I joined it for the community. It's kind of all of my buddies have either heard of it or are in it, and I've met so many people through that. And again, not necessarily looking for like, oh, hopefully someone in that room can give me some more business, for example. I'm like, no, I just want to help. And then I bet you those people will know loads of people that'd be right for me, type thing. And so that's kind of like, I can sell through the room as opposed to the room. And then I'm not necessarily I'm looking for that, but I'm just like saying that that's a big benefit of that. And also the intel and the kind of different types of conversations that happen at that level as well. And then like, there's been other masterminds where it's like I'm just purely there for the knowledge, and then just stumble across a great community, for example, which has always been really, really helpful to me. I've always been doing something very, very specific and very kind of, there's very few people that know more about YouTube ads than me, I believe. That sounds very egotistical. It's just that I've been in a lot of rooms and I know one thing really, really well. Ask me about anything else, I'm terrible. Yeah. So I never need to know. I'm looking at to say, I want to further my YouTube ad knowledge from a group. I might want to kind of learn other disciplines that could complement my knowledge around YouTube ads. And I'd love to kind of hear more about YouTube ads from other people as well. But I've already have those groups, and I feel like I've got the best people in the world working with me, or I have a good relationship with other people out there as well. But yeah, like I'm looking always to say, right, well, knowledge, community, and then the potential sales of kind of through that room as well, like just being connected to the right people. And that might be it's always going to be indirect, but someone might say, oh, I have a person I want to introduce you to, or, oh, I run a large blog and I want you to write a blog post, or I have a podcast, I'd love to invite you onto the podcast. And by doing that type of activity, in the end, you realize like, okay, cool, I've just got my network everywhere and people are coming in to do business with me from loads of different spaces. So that's always a really helpful thing to do, to kind of build that network out.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. For me, that was just a light bulb moment once I kind of realized the importance of being involved in mentoring groups and also mastermind groups. But, you know, that kind of investment within yourself, I don't think you can put anything on that, to be very honest. Yeah, absolutely. And the network that's involved with it. But yeah, I'd just like to say thank you so much, Tom, for sharing those nuggets and those amazing advice, you know, for anybody in YouTube wanting to get started in YouTube as well. And I'd just like you to share, where can the audience find you, you know, and connect with yourself?
Yeah, of course. So tombreeze.com is a good site to go and find out more about myself. If you want to kind of find out more about our agency, it's viewability.co.uk. And if you kind of have anything that you want to ask me about and things like that, just find me on Facebook and ping me. Normally the easiest thing to do.
No, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing all your knowledge, Tom. I know that everyone would have got mounds and mounds of nuggets there. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Thanks so much for having me.